What if I told you that the conspiracy theories you've been laughing at were actually made on purpose? Not by some guy in his basement, by the people you're laughing with. And what if withholding information wasn't incompetence at all? That's essentially the whole entire strategy. Step one, you hide the ball. Step two, you watch everyone guess what happened to the ball. And then step three, you call them crazy because all the different theories they come up with, whatever happened to the ball. Tucker Carlson just had a conversation that literally stopped me in my tracks, and I need you to hear it because once you see this playbook, you can't unsee it. So, this is what it really looks like. I'll blow this up here. So, you have to really look at it. There's 6 steps, and that's it. They go through these 6 steps. Step 1, they withhold obvious information. Not secret stuff, not obvious stuff. The kind that should be just essentially should just be released. And then step 2, they create this vacuum because the internet and honestly everybody in general, they hate the vacuum. And that's where we come up with all these different speculations. That's step 3. Multiple speculations, thousands of people, thousands of theories are coming out there, and some of them get pretty wild. Now, here's where it gets good because then you have step 4, and that amplifies the worst takes. So you take the most outrageous claims, and those are the ones that they actually amplify. They don't answer the real questions. They find the most ridiculous theory out there, put it on TV, put it everywhere. And that brings me to step 5. They discredit the whole entire field, not just the bad theories, all of them, everyone who's asking anything. And then step 6, the legitimate inquiries get discredited. The real reporter, the real questions, they're all lumped into with the crazies now. They're all batshit crazy. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. So essentially, they hide the ball and then mock the crowd for guessing where it is. That's not a conspiracy. That's a 6-step diagram. Here, I'm just showing all these. They go through all these 6 steps, and it's right there in plain sight. And Joe Kent just explained exactly how they do this on camera. And have a look here because he sat down with Tucker Carlson the other day. And like I said, I saw this bit and it just made me go, oh my God, this is exactly what is happening with whole Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens. He breaks it down so simply, and have a listen here. I'll play the video for you.
Current president was the subject of a near successful assassination attempt like recently.
Yeah.
And we're just not going to look into very obvious leads or divulge information that everyone knows they have. For example, the surveillance tape from the shooting range at which Thomas Crooks trained, because it would answer the question, was he training with somebody? And if so, who? They have that footage and they won't release it. What could possibly be the explanation for that?
I know what the result is. The result is people come to their own conclusions, and this is where like crazy conspiracy theories come from. And then those conspiracy theories usually are easy to debunk or make the people saying them sound crazy. So then the actual question never gets answered.
Right. I'm sorry. Can you say that for people who haven't lived in Washington? Okay. I try to explain this to people all the time because this has been ongoing since at least the Kennedy assassination, but this is a very serious and reoccurring thing. It's a tactic. And you just explained it better than anyone I've ever heard. Can you just do that again if you can recall it from memory?
Yeah, I mean, so basically you give no information whatsoever on something that's obvious that there should be information. Like you outlined, like there's potentially footage of Crooks at the shooting range. Again, Police 101, go get the tapes. Let's figure it out. If you don't want to address that question, then you go silent on it and you say, you can't ask that question, which then creates people who come out of kind of nowhere and they start drawing their own conclusions, knowing the way the internet works. I mean, half of them, if not more, are probably going to be so far off in left field and made by legitimate kooks or bots that then you can just be like, oh, these people asking these questions about that tape at the video range.
It's space aliens.
Crazy conspiracy theorists. They say it's a UAP or whatever. And so then you've just, diverted all attention away from the thing that you're trying to conceal. And now everyone's focused on the crazies.
Man.
And then the second someone asks a legitimate question, they're crazy.
Okay, did you catch that? Joe Kent, combat veteran, former congressman, just gave the cleanest breakdown of narrative control I've ever heard or anyone give. And Tucker literally just said it out loud. So let me slow it down for you because Kent's words deserve to be heard. And like he said, if you don't want to address that question, you just go silent. You just say, you can't say that, which then creates people who come out of nowhere and start drawing their own conclusions. And those conclusions spread, and some of them go way out there in left field, which we've seen with the whole Charlie Kirk thing. There's some crazy things out there. And that's exactly what they're counting on. Like Ken said, if you diverted all attention away from the thing they're trying to conceal, now everyone's focused on the crazies. That's essentially the move. That's it in a nutshell. They create an absolute circus. Then they point at all the clowns. Kent used the Thomas Crooks shooting range tape as a perfect example of this. The attempt on President Trump's life, basic police work was Crooks alone. Who else trained there? The footage exists. Everyone knows it exists, and it's never been released. And every day it isn't released, that vacuum just keeps filling with more noise and more noise. Tucker said he has this, like he said, it's been going on since Kennedy assassination. We've been doing this whole entire thing. And I've seen there's been movies about it and all kinds of different scenarios about what happened to Kennedy. And some of them are way out there. And that's not an exaggeration. That's literally a half century, same playbook, just different names slotted in there. Now, I want to show you this playbook, which is running out right now. It's something that obviously would just happen, like I was saying, with the Charlie Kirk thing. These things, it's again, same playbook, same thing going on. So again, we all know what happened on September 10th at Utah Valley University. Charlie Kirk, he was only 31 years old. Founder of Turning Point USA, was one of the biggest conservative voices in the country. He got shot in the neck. 3,000 people were there. And we all know how this all ended up. The next day, literally the next day, well, exactly 33 hours later, a 22-year-old named Tyler Robinson walks in a local sheriff's office, surrenders. The FBI calls it closed. Case closed, we got our guy. They used those words. They called him a disturbed lone actor. They say the evidence is overwhelming. Disturbed lone actor. Where have we heard that one before? I guess Thomas Cook. They're, again, same playbook, same words, same buzzwords. Now, I want to be very clear here because I'm not telling you Robinson didn't do it. I'm telling you there was definitely a conspiracy. I'm telling you there are specific documented questions that have never been answered. And that is all I'm asking you to look at. And I come up with these 6 main questions that I'm telling you that there's been no answers to. First one is the security failures. There are all these allegations that are on record, that are documented, that Kirk's own security director has said 3,000 people at this event, 6 police officers providing security. There was no metal detectors. The tickets were not even enforced at the door. And the roof of the building next door was where the lone shooter was not secured at all. And then they had drone restrictions that were in place. But then I also heard in another video that they had drones the day before for marketing purposes. So I don't know why there weren't drones allowed the day of, and then there was drones allowed the days before for marketing purposes. Like, think about that. A sitting president gets 100 agents in a no-fly zone. Charlie Kirk got 6 cops and an open rooftop. Who literally signed off on that security plan? That is a big question, and that's just a simple question. And there's been a lot more questions with the security. And then if there was such a security failure, how is Erica Kirk keeping on? Not only did she keep on the whole security detail, she actually promoted them. I don't know. If I had a security detail that ended up getting my husband killed, I think they would be fired. I don't know. Just saying, that would just be shows incompetence to me. I don't know what others might have different theories, but to me, they would be gone. I wouldn't even be able to look at them, because I'd feel like they wronged my husband. They didn't do a good enough job. There would have been so many questions, and I would have anyways, that's a whole other thing. But there's a lot of security questions there that aren't answered. And the second thing, that 2 people were arrested before Robinson ever even showed up, and 2 other people were taken into custody. One of them actually told police he fired the shot. Then he later admitted he just made it up. He said, and I quote this, he said, he said it because the real suspect could now get away. That's a very specific thing to say. That is a very operational specific thing to say. Was that threat ever pulled, or who was he working with? How did he just come out of nowhere and say that? And the third question is, Robinson never formally confessed to the FBI's case. And the FBI literally just has text messages. They don't have Robinson's confession at all. They just have the ones that he sent apparently to his roommate in a Discord group. and his roommate was the one who turned over those messages, who put, the FBI under protection. So he passes over those messages. He gets put into protection, but he's only put in protection for like 4 months. He just got released from protection on January 15th this year, 2026. So you have a witness in a simple lone shooter case under FBI protection for 4 months is not normal. And Robinson himself reportedly said he was afraid the FBI would show up at his house and kill him. So he surrendered first. He has never made any formal public confession at all. The fourth big question is the FBI director's own words. This is the one I really want you to focus on. Kash Patel's own FBI director put out a public statement, not dismissing questions, addressing them. And here's his tweet right here from Kash Patel. Down here at the bottom, he says, "We are meticulously investigating theories and questions, including the location from where the shot was taken, the possibility of accomplices, the text message confessions and related conversations, Discord chat, the angles of the shot and bullet impact, how the weapon was transported, and gestures observed as potential signals near Charlie at this time." So he's trying to answer some of the questions, but it just really doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. So the FBI director said there's possible accomplices, possible, which they've never talked about that. He made this comment a long time ago. I think this was right after. I think this comment was made on September 22nd. So there's never been anybody talk about any kind of accomplices at all. And then he said there was hand gestures observed as potential signals. He said he's still investigating. So if this case is closed, why is FBI director publicly listing open questions? And that's not a theory. These are Kash Patel's actual words in his statement, and this is on record. Now, you watch this playbook run in real time. Candace Owens, which I think she's been doing a great job trying to find the truth. And she's the one with asking the most questions. And she's the one that's being called crazy. She's a lunatic. She's a demon. But no one's actually refuting what she has to say. So she was a very good friend of Charlie Kirk. She was an employee. She knew him very well. And after he was killed, again, her questions, she just asked questions. She set up a tip line. She built her own timeline, and she used her 6 million subscribers to apply public pressure. And here's what happened. The establishment, left and right, turned on her at the same time. Ben Shapiro, the little weasel, he was calling her evil. He was the worst that kind of came after her. And he's still calling her a demonic. I think Dan Bongino called her demonic. And someone else called her a demon from the bowels of hell. Like, those are some harsh words. And this is the same conservative media that spent years calling itself an anti-establishment, lined up to literally shut her down. But not one of those people has come up with any kind of counter argument whatsoever. So that's why I want to go back to the narrative control here, because I want to look at like steps 4, 5, and 6. And that is amplify the worst takes. And so did she go too far in some of her claims? Yes. The Epstein angle is not verified at all. Some of the foreign government theories are not verified. Those are fair criticisms. I'm not here to defend every word she says, but here's what Joe Kent told us. The second someone asks a legitimate question, they're crazy. That's exactly what happened here. They found her weakest claims, amplified those, and then used them to dismiss even the FBI director said were still open questions. They didn't debunk the questions. They debunked the questioner. Those are two completely different things. And here's what Owens said when Kash Patel's statement came out. She said, "We did this." And she did. She did. She got people to actually start questioning the FBI narrative. And she said, we need to address these questions and we need the answers. So whether you like Candace Owens or not, the outcome is real. The pressure worked. The FBI director responded. That's what asking questions is supposed to do. So here's what I want to walk away with. Tucker said this has been running since the Kennedy assassination. He's right. The Warren Commission, the magic bullet, the sealed files, same playbook, withhold, let speculation build, mock the speculator, bury the questions, and we keep falling for it every single time because you're too busy fighting each other. And that's what happened. Everybody's fighting each other about all these different conspiracies. And that we all are demanding answers, and they're just, we want the sane answers. But no one's giving us the answers. The craziest theories of all is thinking that people don't use this information as a weapon. So here's what I'm proposing. It's not a political thing and not a left or right thing. It's just a standard. When there's obvious information that should be public, demand it. When it isn't released, ask why. When someone calls you crazy for asking louder, that is not conspiracy thinking. That is just being a normal human being. The Charlie Kirk case is not closed. The FBI director said so himself. The security failures are not explained at all. The accomplice question is not answered. A key witness was under protection for 4 months, and no one even asking why anymore, because everyone gets distracted by the circus. That is essentially it. That's the playbook. I'll put this back up here. Just if you look at all these, the Kennedy, Kirk, all of them, they just go through this exact same playbook every single time. They hide the ball. They mock the crowd for questioning where it is. If this made you think, guys, let me know, because I'm so over it with that. It's so frustrating. And like I said, Candace Owens has said some crazy shit. I'm not saying the bees, and actually I pulled up this, and it just shows how crazy it can come. Because, and a lot of times, like I said, I watch a lot of true crime, but especially with the cold cases, they have to throw all the shit against the wall and start working against it. But yeah, some of the theories might be crazy, but unless you start asking questions, you never can come down to what the truth is. But you just got to throw all the shit against the wall and see what sticks, and keep asking the questions. And one of the things that stood out to me, the ones that falls right into this, is when she talked about the planes, the Egyptian planes, and when she was saying they're following her, Erica Kirk, more than they were actually following Charlie Kirk. And when Candace brought up that point, and then Erica Kirk spoke about it, she said, I have never even been on an Egyptian plane. Well, no shit, Sherlock, because no one said she was ever on the plane. It's just, and then she was on that town hall, and everybody in the audience laughed and thought it was funny, but no one ever claimed that she was on the plane. This is where you take, I think they call it the straw man argument. They'll make another argument that has nothing to do with the argument that you're actually having and say how ridiculous that is, but that was never even the argument in the first place. That another thing that goes on with these refuting these conspiracy theories, why not address, but the fact that you're not even addressing the question, why are the planes following you? And your response is, I'm not even on the plane. It just proves that she's onto something. And the fact that the whole audience is laughing means, like, to me, is like, you're just not paying attention. They're not paying attention because no one said she was on the plane. So anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts. Unless we keep asking questions, and unless the people demand it, people want answers. And I also think that if this keeps happening and they keep getting away with it, it's just going to keep happening and happening. If there's no accountability, if we're not saying, hey, we see through the bullshit now. And I also think what's different between the Kennedy assassination and Charlie Kirk is that people have the internet, people have phones, they have the ability to slow the video down, they have to see what happened afterwards. There's just so much more information that people have access to than they'd had back then. Because back then you had to wait for the newspapers to come out to get more information. Now it's like you can share information so quickly and so fast, and the ability to slow down these videos to point by point and all the different theories. And, they talk about how, again, that's why they have all these people out there on the internet talking about how he couldn't have assembled and disassembled that gun that fast. They talk about experts are explaining it. I would never have known that. But when someone breaks it down, you say it's actually impossible to break that gun down. If the 30-06 bullet went into his neck, it would have blown his head off. Like, all these things don't make sense. And people are out there proving it wrong. And there's some people that are crazy and have some crazy ideas. But the crazier they get is the ones that they highlight the most. So guys, let me know your thoughts. Please like, subscribe, share, hype. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks. Bye.